Hey, Vinny Melkus. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Help me out a little bit. Every time somebody does like or subscribe, it really does help. Thought occurred to me, and I wanted to talk about. It's kind of controversial opinion, really. But if you guys got any thoughts, please let me know in the comments. But something happened to me in one of my recent fishing trips, or it's happened to me many times in the past. But you catch a fish and you're pulling it out of the water and you got him gut hooked or he's hooked in the gill or whatnot, but he doesn't necessarily well, in this last case it was a sunfish, and you're into gut hook and whatnot, and he dies. But in a lot of times in the past you get an 8-inch 10-inch bass, and he's just hooked really bad, and he's not going to make it, or there's a good chance he's not going to make it. Now, and legally, I believe, if you take the letter of the law, a lot of these places where even if you have a 12-inch limit or a 14-inch slot limit, technically you've got to release that fish. And I've done it in the past because I believe in like the spirit of the law, and that's just my own opinion. I know they can get in trouble if you get caught by a warden, but if I do have one of those fish, I put them in the live well, and I try to nurse them back, and then I'll release them, right? And here's the thing that I think, if you follow the letter of the law and having to release that fish immediately, he could possibly die, or if he does die, because it's a 50-50 shot on some of these, not greater, the fish will perish. So sometimes they have, and I've actually taken them home and eaten them, because I normally don't eat bass. I might occasionally go trout fishing or catfishing or something like that, or get a walleye, and I might eat it, but it's like very rare. Because I like the sport of it, and I believe in the resource. In fact, a lot of times with walleye myself, like I like to, fish that I know that are kept a lot, I release them a lot. But anyway, I wonder what other people think about this. But the fact that you have these length limits, and person, if you're a law-abiding citizen, you kind of catch one of those fish and you release them, and you don't really, he's gonna there's a good chance he's not gonna make it, right? It's like you're at one hand, on principle, you're kind of wasting part of the resource there by allowing that fish to go in and just pretty much dying. I guess in a sense you could argue that maybe a catfish or whatever will eat them, but is it better to do that, or in essence to keep the fish and eat that fish? So in a way, it's like, well, do length limits really matter? Well, here's the thing: there's a lot of people that don't follow them anyway. I've seen people filleting fish at boat ramps or whatever, and there's just nobody there enforcing it in certain areas, and especially up north where there's there are like that angling communities behind everybody else conservation wise, when it probably by about 10 years, and I'm not trying to offend anybody up there. They made huge strides lately, where those people are really understanding the resource and being able to release certain fish. But they just hook them and cook them, and that's how like I was raised as well. So there, it's a weird dichotomy. But going back to the length limit thing, it's just kind of like, well, there's a moral. Is it a moral issue? Do you follow that to the letter of the law and just release a fish that you are going to, they'll more than likely be deceased, or do you keep them despite the fact that he's under the length limit? If you inadvertently, I'm not saying if obviously people are going to say, well, there's people that are going to take advantage of that, and that's a on a person level. It's like, how do you like police people and their thoughts, and who they are as people, and you get those. There are those people out there for sure, but I mean, just in a sense, from if we're talking about people that actually follow the law, if you understand what I'm saying, people that are conservationists that do care about the resource, but also selective harvest and all that stuff. But what do you think? In my opinion, I almost think they're almost irrelevant, especially without enforcement. And I think there should be like more of an intent of the limit. That way, somebody that accidentally gut hooks a fish, and or a more pressing one is like you get him straight through the gill rakers or whatnot, or bottom tongue, and he's gonna die. It's like you're not intentionally trying to kill that fish, right? But you don't want to also waste the resource. And I was always brought up to utilize everything that you take from nature, whether you catch a fish to eat, or you kill a deer or an elk, or a bird of some sort, that you utilize as much as you possibly can, and to respect the animal, and to respect just Mother Nature in general. So it's just that I've never heard anybody really talk about that, how people deal with that. And this weekend, like I caught a sunfish, and I'm sure sunfish, that was a legal limit, but I didn't go check the manual, right? I hooked him bad, and I tried to nurse him back, waited, so I popped him in the live well and put some treatment in there, and it just wasn't going to happen, right? So then I just filleted him up, but but I didn't want to just release him. I was trying to. My intent was to release him, but I didn't want to release a dead fish, right? So I guess when I'm going there, if you have an opinion on that, please comment, because this is one of those things where I'm not like hard, it's one of those things that open discussion. It's like a philosophical question about fishing in general, and some of the regulations. I'd like to get into some of the other things that I believe, there was I'm going to pretty much end this on that topic, which is the main topic, pretty much in that, because I want to, there's a philosophy that used to permeate the fishing community about, eating, everything you caught, or eating big fish. Once we got past that, eating everything you caught, and you went to, okay, it's good to release some fish. Well, you release the little ones, you keep the big ones. Well, there's a number of reasons why you shouldn't do that. And there was a number of walleye guys where I was at, and they were, because walleye just have a target on their back in the North Country. And there was a number of guys at True Trophy walleye hunters that were big into pushing, hey, you need to release those bigger fish. Well, one, scientifically, if you look at some of these places where they have mercury warnings or whatnot, fish as they age, that kind of stuff tends to stay in their tissues. So just health-wise, you want to eat, a younger class fish, but then also you want to selective harvest a certain length of fish or a certain age group in a body of water in order to maintain that distribution of age groups and fish groups. One, just for the health of the fishery, but two, because you don't want to stunt the fishery. You want people to have the opportunity to have that experience of catching just an awesome fish. But anyway, I don't want to get into that one. I'll do that in another video. But just the length limit issue, just if you have an opinion, please comment. To me, I almost see them almost, I want to say irrelevant, because they are relevant. It's a good guideline for people, especially somebody that's not so astute. But there's almost, there's an intent and, a hard line on the law. And if you've ever been in law enforcement, intent and, the letter of the law. And it's just like, well, where do we go on that one? What do you do morally when you have a fish that's, it's under that limit, but it's probably going to die, right? Do you take that chance of getting a ticket to do the right, in my opinion, the right thing, utilize the resource? Were you inadvertently, harvested, or do you release a dead fish and hope that it gets taken up by the ecosystem, which more than likely it will. So it's interesting. But anyway, I appreciate the support. Please like and subscribe, and like I said, comment. I'm interested in others' opinions on this topic, because it's something that I've thought about and a number of times in the past, and just haven't heard anybody really have an opinion on it or discuss it. But anyway, talk to you later.